no.
Twisted and evil.
Evil. But I had the high ground. Ha ha.
All right, so we've all seen the first episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi. We're going to talk about it tonight.
No.
Jokes
Unfortunately,
Yeah,
I would love to be able to fast forward to May 25th, 2022 to talk about the debut episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And we will be back talking about it. That was kind of a tough decision because, spoiler alert, here's how I feel about the last episode of the Book of Boba Fett. I was just about ready to give up on Star Wars TV. Even the prospect, even the last two previous great Mandalorian episodes we got were not enough
to give up.
to
Echo.
someone's.
Even the prospect, even the last.
Wow, that's a lot of echoing.
Yeah. Am I
Are
still
we okay
echoing?
now? I think it's Mike. I think it's Mike Crowley.
We'll blame Mike.
All right. Anyway, we'll get into the whole thing. I've got the spoiler banner up. This is the Boba Fett Book Club, Chapter 7, the final chapter. And unlike Jason Voorhees, I don't think this one's coming back. Anyway, let's talk about who we're talking with this evening on the lovely panel, the lovely book club. I am Ian Simmons of Kicking the Seat. We have once again David Fowley of Keeping It Real, Mike Crowley of YPA Reviews, and 25 years later, Annie Banks of Chuckload of Comics and Movie Web, and jumping out of the comments and into our hearts and onto camera, we have Mark the Movie Man Krawczyk of the Spoiler Room and Special Mark Productions, and Sujewa Ekanayake, the independent director, writer, creator extraordinaire of the Secret Society for Slow Romance and one of my favorite movies, Werewolf Ninja Philosopher, and that's not even a joke.
Brooklyn.
If Sujewa was a superhero, we'd name him Multi-Man.
There you
go.
Yeah.
And Sujewa, it's kind of a crazy coincidence. I hope I'm not telling stories out of school, but the star of both of those films, Alia Leray, her birthday's today. Were you aware of that?
Birthday.
Yes, happy
she'll
birthday,
be in the
Alia, if you're
comments
watching
section.
this. There you go. So I'm a little disappointed because the last few weeks, especially when we get into the studio here, we've got loads of a barrage of comments from you, Sujewa, about your thoughts on the episode. So, you know what? I'm going to let you kick it off with the synopsis of Chapter 7. Go for it, dude.
So a long time ago.
No.
All right. Boba Fett, last show, episode 7. It was not an exciting series so far, but episode 7 got pretty exciting. So what happened? We got, let's see, start of the show, they're planning things out, and we have Boba Fett and gang being attacked by, and I watched it twice and I thought about it, so I may not get the order of the plot right exactly, but
well, just like the high level points. We don't need to go like beat for beat.
Sure. So, finally the great war between Boba Fett and the Pike Syndicate happened, and what's his name? Grogu comes in, and the Mandalorian joins, and a big battle breaks out. So that's the episode without going into spoilers.
That's enough. Yeah,
pretty much. I mean, that's it. This is basically like an extended and not very creative reimagining of the Wild Bunch finale. If the Wild Bunch the climax was written by Disney. Hey, we have Mando in the house officially.
Right. Mando.
Mando, what was it like fighting alongside Boba Fett in the climax here?
I think we know who's the better shot.
Most definitely. Here's okay. When the X-wing flew in, did anyone have any doubts that was Grogu and not Luke Skywalker?
I mean, I thought maybe Luke Skywalker. I'm kind of glad it wasn't. There was no way, Grogu was going to fly that thing. So I was really happy to see R2 in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker.
What's that?
I thought it might have been Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
It's so
funny.
funny.
What would he have done if it was Luke? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
the moment where I was like, oh, kind of the same reaction as we did when we first saw that lone X-wing coming. Like, that's Luke. No, it's not. And there was like I was like, that's it's gonna be one of the two.
I feel cheated because we're missing a whole scene because the cliffhanger last week, and we're missing a whole scene of like what Grogu's choice was, right?
Mhm.
And then obviously we know what his choice was. I would have loved this scene where like, you know, Luke would be like, "Oh, you're going back to Tatooine? I'm done with that planet. I'm not going back." And that would have been great. I would have even liked like a track of applause or something, you know, like a laugh or something, a laugh track. I'm not going back to that planet.
Yeah. Too much sand for me. Oh, just like his father.
Yep. Like his father he is.
Now, to your point, David, I was so bummed out that we didn't get the conclusion of that scene. I feel like maybe they're saving that for a flashback in like, you know, they're going to do it in Mando 3 or whatever. But if the X-Wing fighter had landed and it had been Luke and you see him first in the cockpit and then you see Grogu in his lap and he's just like, you know, our mutual friend here made a choice. So Luke was just like dropping him off or something and then parting ways. That would have been at least something. You know, Luke would have made the excuse. Kind of, you know, because Luke wouldn't have had to have gotten involved in this, you know, local skirmish. You know, that's not really his fight, you know, to save Mos Espa or whatever from a bunch of gangsters. But yeah, I feel cheated too out of that scene because I think that scene had such potential. And as low as such questions, because the episode did not open with that choice, I had kind of forgotten about it watching all this other boring Boba stuff that led up to the X-Wing landing.
You say that, and like I've seen like alternative theories people throwing out before this episode had aired. You know, Twitter was a madhouse, and it was insane.
It always is
merciless, more than usual. It was just ruthless and out there, but I saw like a lot of different really clever and creative ideas about this choice that Grogu was given. And one that I really liked was that he chose the shirt or whatever Mando decides to call it, the armor, the Beskar armor. And Luke goes to him and he goes, you know, excellent choice. We're going to continue on with your training. And there is no going back to Mando. And then it's a lesson because Luke is pro-attachment. He's it's him passing that he's permitting Grogu to have these attachments without actually having to go back and kind of undo everything that he learned and untrain himself. But
I like that line of thought.
I liked that, and I was kind of hoping that we would even get to see some sort of final parting of ways between the two after them spending so much time together.
Yeah,
it's interesting. I was thinking it was going in a different direction, like. He'd say, "Yeah, you want to go with Mando, but you're staying here with me, kid." Holds him hostage.
Well, we know that Luke is not a Earth father from Earth, sending that little child all the way in a spaceship with a robot to a battle planet. You know.
He's got the R2 nanny.
Luke's just like, I'm not going to be the taxi driver for this. Give it to someone else.
It's true.
He would lose his parental privileges on Earth.
Right.
Very true. Mark, I feel like you know, this hour is going to be not the most flattering to the Book of Boba Fett. And I know you are, you know, you've used the F word to describe this show. The F word on this, you know, in the book club is filler. No, not fun, except for episodes like 5 and 6. Fat Boba, yeah, maybe. But Mark, I think you like this series bit more than a lot of people on the panel. What was your reaction not only to episode 7 but just the series as a whole, or season at least as a whole?
I enjoyed the series as a whole. I'm going to say the finale felt like you could see the Disney influence. There's a way they could have ended this, but not Disney wise. That could have gone to some fun, dark places. We could have seen Boba Fett. I mean, look, I get they're heroes and it's more of a family show, but the plot armor was strong with this one. If you were a character in Boba's gang, you were fairly lucky that you're not going to get dead being hit by at least one, if not more, bolts. I understand it's Beskar armor. I understand that with him. So Boba and him, that's fine, right? And I understand how tough Wookiees are, okay? But how many
times that guy got shot?
how many times did that guy get shot? You know, I enjoyed a lot of parts of this and ideas that they had, but at the same time, you can tell the demographic or audience they're trying to go for.
Kids.
So they kept it very, very shallow when it could have gone deep. I mean, when Boba and you know, Mandalorian, they're up on their jetpacks. I'm like, oh, that's it. You know, I mean, I liked it where it was them two taking on the Pike. I liked it because I'm like, first off, we finally get to see Boba being more of a badass than we thought. I mean, he's literally shooting little missiles from his knee at the same time he's blowing away guys with his gun. As cheesy as that might seem, I mean, he's at least, they're doing multiple attacks. They're working with each other. They get in their jetpacks and they start shooting guys. And I'm like, why aren't you just staying in the air? Why did you come back to the ground? You got the high ground. Did you guys not pay attention?
Right.
It's over.
Those
high ground. It's over.
That's right. Those knee missiles are a total dad bod move. All you have to do is kneel on one leg and just go pew pew.
Hey, but I'm a dad, so I enjoyed it. I mean, overall, you know, I enjoyed it, but this one, it was the road always traveled. Let's put it that way, rather than less travel. It's the road always traveled. The way they wrap this up, they bring in all the characters that we've seen throughout the episode. At some point they're showing up. You knew he was going to ride a Rancor. When he takes off, you're like, okay, that's where he's going. You know, the one surprise part that I actually enjoyed, and I thought, again, it was those moments. There's a lot of moments in this episode that I think hit. They just don't go anywhere further with them once they present them, is when the townsfolk came out.
Sure.
When the townsfolk actually show up and they're shooting guys, you know, from Freetown. And, you know, I actually dug that because I honestly didn't expect them to actually bring them and show up. In all honesty, I did not quite see them going that route. Maybe one or two people showing up, but not like a whole actual caravan and them actually shooting and partaking in the battle for the most part. So that surprised me, and I liked that, and they explored that. But then you get into these, you know, robots that resemble the assassin droids from the prequels, and I'm like, really, you know. And then we get King Kong at one point in here. You know, I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it, but I was disappointed because there were lots of moments that were just squandered that they could have really done, I think, some really cool stuff. Even so much as not actually having a battle with the Pikes. When they started talking about, hey, they're you know, their minimum numbers, we could go take it to them now. You know, I'm like, hell yeah, go do some assassin.
Do something instead of standing around and talk.
Do some assassin stuff. Pardon my French, and they don't, you know, right away. You know, and it's
you know, Mark, in hearing you talk about all this stuff, it just, I watched this thing, you know, 16 hours ago or whatever it was. So some of it's already faded from memory, but all the problems. All right. They talk about how there's a few Pike Syndicate, you know, in town, and there could be more on the way. All right. So yeah, what Boba Fett, his little, you know, his Rancor, his Wookiee, and his little, you know, candy colored biker kids.
And the poor two Gamorrean guards.
Yeah, sure. They take, you know, they win the battle, but then the reinforcements come and squash all of them immediately, because if they have any kind of army, they could nuke Mos Espa from orbit just to like make a demonstration of Tatooine and take over the entire planet. You know, the Rancor, the King Kong thing. My problem with the King Kong thing is you can't have a movie nowadays with a giant monster without that giant monster reenacting the damn scene from King Kong where it climbs the tallest building and is getting shot at. It's no longer fun or cool. These special effects artists are wasting their time and mine, frankly. Now, hold on a second. We've got some comments.
Let's do it.
Woohoo!
Hello, Petty.
Hey, Petty. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. With Chapter 7, the quality of the series fell again. It's a shame. Yes.
It's the same shame.
Again.
And,
yes.
And where's the New Republic during this gigantic war going on?
Well, they don't care. They're crooks.
Is the New Republic still? Has it been formed yet at this point?
No.
Are they going to explore that with Andor?
Yeah,
I mean, Andor was just renewed for a second season. So
the show that hasn't even come out yet.
yeah, that's the one. The one that they haven't gotten
Oh.
anything about. We got
Wow.
2 seasons of it.
Yeah,
That's
they're still forming it, and right now, the impression you get, even it's carried over from Mandalorian, is that the rebellion is more of the police force right now. But
Oh, that's right.
You don't have like the official New Republic. They're still building it. They're just kind of taking the place of and hunting down the last remnants of the Empire, because contrary to what Lucas might lead you to believe, just because the Death Star blew up doesn't mean, oh, that's the end of the Empire. Everybody went home.
Right. Well, that's like just because Trump lost doesn't mean. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Recount the votes. Recount the votes.
Oh God.
So one thing that was a problem in this entire show was not explaining what a daimyo is in the context of Star Wars.
Right.
In Imperial Japan or in feudal Japan, it was an official title. They served the emperor. So over here, looks like Jabba the Hutt was both a criminal gangster, like a criminal crime lord, plus the official power that backed up the government.
Where was this 6 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Where was this information in chapter 1? That would have been super important and very it would have fleshed out this entire finale even more.
Right, and it could have been explained or by the the tailhead dude. That would have been fine.
God, he was so insufferable.
Also,
goes a long way.
I'm sorry, David Pasquesi. I know I worked with you before, but never show up in Star Wars again.
Also, we don't see the drugs really affecting the people. The drug
spice.
problem.
Yeah.
Well, that's because
it's not like in Dune.
Kicked it over and it's not there.
Again, it's Disney.
Boba Fett is saying he wants to save his people, but we don't really see people overdosing and all those kinds of problems. It's not illustrated.
Because it's Disney. You're not going to get that, unfortunately. HBO Max, they would literally watch people tweaking out, and in fact, the people who of the other syndicates who end up ambushing our very ragtag group of small crime lord army would have been tweakers. They would have been guys who would have would have been promised spice if they fight Mando, and Boba. And we don't get that at all because it's Disney. God forbid they portray any drug use. I'm surprised we get a Rancor eating a guy. That's surprised. I'm like, okay, he's throwing guys. He actually eats a guy. I'm like, wow, we actually got one.
Right. Well, even
also,
that
Shane is a good shooter. He hits his targets.
Well, even the Rancor scene. We see him eat someone in the exact same fashion we watched him eat somebody in Return of the Jedi. With they go the head first and they kind of like chomp and then gulp as they get the legs back in. There's no originality left. I don't understand anything about Mos Espa. I could understand maybe the drugs are not a big problem in the town. Maybe it's just a place that the drugs are run through.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like.
Right, but. We get to the scene with the biker kids again, and the lead girl. I don't remember her. I don't remember the names of half the people in this show. Huh?
Yeah.
Is her name Rash?
Yeah.
Her name is Rash.
I think so. Yeah.
I'll just call her Rash because she wouldn't go away and she was very annoying.
Oh boy.
But she said. But here's the thing. She said, I grew up a block from here. I'm like, you did not grow up a block from anywhere near Mos Espa. Like all none of these kids. I mean, they brought back Doctor Who biker guy, and like they still nobody works on this planet, especially if they're supposed to be like from there. I think it would have been more interesting. I was sitting there rewriting this show while I'm watching it. This whole setup could have worked if these people had sort of come to Mos Espa, sort of like people came to Mos Eisley, if it was more of a spaceport town, and they got caught up in this political struggle. They all got stranded there. These biker kids, I believe they were like vacationing from Coruscant. They decided to go to the desert planet because it's all exotic or something, and they got stuck there. And they have to, team up with these, crazy bounty hunters to fight their way out, because just believing that they live and hang out on this dusty planet where nothing else looks like them. I don't even know where they'd buy their clothes. I know they make their cybernetic enhancements and stuff, but Where do they get those? The red fishnets and the Doctor Who duster.
I have no idea.
And we're gonna get more of them
at the trade port. Come on,
sure,
use your imagination a little. It's sci-fi. You got traders coming in.
I would use my imagination if there was anybody else in this town that had any sort of
There might be.
Can't.
You don't
look,
know. You're stuck in the
Wait,
lower
Cad
end
Bane
of.
had the hat. He had his hat.
He needed a wider rim. Cad Bane. He needed a wider rim.
Don't worry. He
Cad
came
Bane
in
was
just
not
to
from
die
Mos
another
Espa.
show later.
Cad Bane was not from Mos Espa. Okay, let's establish
that he was another what?
Such a waste for Cad Bane.
Thank you. What's funny
is so sad.
They
it
teased
makes me so upset.
They teased it, and they tease you throughout because if he was one of my favorite characters, I enjoyed the villains.
He's super cool. He's terrifying. He's so neat.
He's terrifying, but he's also got a code that he lives by, which is always interesting with his character. Just like the head of the pirates in Clone Wars. Shit, I forgot his name, but I liked those two characters the most.
Yeah.
And
Mark,
Cad Bane,
Annie, Mark, you're talking about Clone Wars Cad Bane. So somebody like Ian, he's going to be like, okay, that sounds good, but all I know is this Cad Bane.
Right.
Well, you didn't get that, I guess. I guess you got to watch the Clone Wars now.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't even mind this Cad Bane, except Robert Rodriguez, again, a director who I used to respect.
He doesn't know what to do with him.
Well,
he doesn't know what to do with him.
He does know what to do with him.
He brought him in just to have him killed off. And then he fucking revived Cobb Vanth.
Listen.
Yeah.
Well,
he's with a modder. More modders. Yay.
Yeah. Cad Bane is not even fully organic.
Yeah. Cad Bane will be half scooter. He'll just like roll around.
He'll be brought back. He's already half machine. It looks like
he's gonna be like Maul when he comes back as the spider.
Well,
here's a lot of this stuff points to bad writing throughout the entire series.
Yep.
Very much.
That's why I'm worried that Andor already has 2 seasons when they even haven't had one. This is like Disney just slamming the accelerator, plowing ahead with the story before thinking things through. And secondly, this is kind of why I wish WB, despite their horrible handling of DC, would own Star Wars in a way where, Star Wars is made for kids, but it can be a little more intelligent than being so pandery. The way Mando gets Grogu back, like with the big reveal by Amy Sedaris when she lifts the blanket, is just basically pouring itself to the audience with absolutely no care for their intelligence whatsoever. And it just feels like half of this show, Robert Rodriguez was just on set not paying attention, going, hey, should we have this? What did Boba kill the Sarlacc before going in there? He's like, oh, it'd just be cooler if there's like a sequence.
He didn't write it though. He just is taking what he's given by
I think he's like the creative mind behind it. Yeah.
Did Favreau write this episode?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Ooh,
yes.
See, I wish Filoni. I wish we'd have more Filoni writing and more Bryce Dallas Howard directing and Deborah Chow.
Yes. This is why I'm looking forward to Kenobi as Deborah Chow.
I'm so nervous about Kenobi after this. I am so anxious. Like I told my roommate yesterday, I was like, God, I'm gonna stay. I stayed up to watch the episode, and I was like, I during the morning, I'm like, I really stayed up.
Why did you do that? Why?
To watch the worst piece of visual fan fiction I have ever seen. And I told her, I woke up, I was like, God, that was awful. And she liked it. She was like, oh, I thought it was good. I was like, I respect you. We're friends.
You don't have to say that, Annie. You can just let it stew. No, Mark, you want to jump in here. What?
Well, no, I'm with her. The thing with this is this finale was written as if you had a 20 episode series.
Yeah.
Okay. If and stay with me here for a minute. If you had like a 12 or 15 your standard length series, this episode would have been more epic because you had all the characters coming in, but you've had time to explore them more. We've only had 4 actual Boba episodes 2 that have absolutely nothing to do with Boba,
Yep.
and this last one where they build it up to this epic thing as if they've been building up this epic conflict this whole time when they haven't. They've just mentioned it in passing. Oh, this is going to happen. Oh, this is going to happen. Well, it happens, and they bring all these characters. You're like, I just saw these people like 3 weeks ago. It's, you know, whereas if it was like a 15 episode thing and you saw Timothy Oliphant's character, you know, and the Freetown folks like episode 4, and now it's episode 14 and they come back. Well, now you've had some time to breathe, but you don't have that. It's what you said, Ian. They're really rushing this, and they're pushing this through, you know, the Star Wars stuff. And I'm not sure why. And it's because there's a lot of potential. There are a lot of interesting things. There's these characters, they bring up stuff during this finale when they're hiding behind the thickest wall in the world. Again, plot armor is strong with everybody in here. And they start having
convenient how they have the world's thickest walls there. Like
right?
you gotta be so lucky, dude.
It's like
I wish I was you. I wish I was living in like what is
it's like a bunker.
Terracotta homes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, and it tells you the strength of the power of the big robots. These big robots have these big guns, and they can't blast through this stone wall about this big, you know. And don't get me wrong, I've enjoyed the series, and I even enjoyed parts of this, but when it got to the action parts of the way they built it up, I'm like, it's a fantasy film. I don't have that suspension of disbelief, but there's just certain things in a film that you want to buy. You've got these big cannons, or even the pikes. All these guys shooting the Wookiee.
Terrible shots.
And these guys, I mean, stormtroopers are like, man, look at those guys. In fact, my son who watched this series.
The show needs a device where everyone has a kind of a force field, but it's really not explained how strong or how weak it is. So that will explain away all this.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Shooting.
So like the robots that they had the force fields, and we didn't know how they worked, and they were just there.
Right. They're giant droid decons kind of mixed with the Gungans force shields, and they're just like a Star Wars.
In the comments makes a really good point too.
Well, here let's get back to some comments, because we gotta catch up.
Go to
all
Don.
right, so first, Don Shanahan, who is unable to actually join us tonight. We miss you, Don. Haven't seen the episode yet, and just popping in to say hey and rooting for everyone to burn it all to the ground if necessary, even if the ground is high. Yeah, excellent. Great to see Sujewa. All right.
Great to see you, Don, in the comments.
Yeah. And Betty writes back, how can it be that these teenage motorcyclists discuss every strategic decision and the discussion ends? It's okay. Let's do what you say. Here's the thing. Picking up on that point, Boba Fett is, he's supposed to be this big, like, he wants to be a crime boss. He gets told what to do, and he tries on absolutely everything.
He doesn't know what to do.
Yes. Boba Fett is telling him what to do. The biker kids telling him what to do. Mando's telling him what to do, and he's like,
let's do that.
Yes. Okay, we'll do that.
Boba Fett is just like a big muscle head dumbass.
That's why I said I just wanted to bop him in the head the first 7 minutes when you're standing around saying,
knock him on his Charlie Brown head.
Actually, they missed one of the many opportunities they missed when Fennec Shen says, "This really isn't us." I was like, "Do it! Say you're absolutely right. We gotta." No, I mean serious, because you've got Timothy Oliphant's character, who I forget his name. Sorry, Cobb Vanth. You've got him in the back to tank. Okay, leave him there. Fennec Shen and Boba decide, you know what, this isn't for us. We couldn't build an army. We really don't. This is not. We're more guns for hire type of folks, and they leave Mos Espa to him as he's getting healed in the back to tank. They've taken care of most of the criminal element because Fennec Shen assassinated all the heads of the syndicate in one room. Like,
that was a nice scene.
It was a beautiful scene. I loved that scene. Yeah. But it also established that they pretty much waver. I think it would have been great for Boba to say, yeah, you know what? You're right. This isn't for me. I tried, and this just isn't. let's go, you know, space hopping and kill some bad guys elsewhere if they want to, you know, or be bounty hunters again or whatever, however you want to do it, but play it that no, this isn't for us. And they leave it to him, the good guy who was defending Freetown, and the only guy with like morals. And then you could set up second season to do whatever the hell you wanted.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but here, it brings up a good question. Like, if there is a second volume of the Book of Boba Fett, is it really going to be them upholding the law? Is it going to be like Deep Space Nine on Tatooine, where they're just like other aliens landing in town and they got to keep the peace? I mean, if you would honestly, would anyone have believed it if a couple of years ago you said, guys, there's going to be a Boba Fett TV series, and the last shot of the Boba Fett TV series is going to be Boba Fett standing in the street without his helmet, laughing with a bunch of his new best friends.
I thought like the credits would come up like some 80s show. It's like
freeze frame it. Yeah.
You know, who was it? Was it David?
He's breaking
you
the
said
bread,
that you were
he's handing it out.
well, he's keeping a lot of that bread for himself. Anyway, Dave, I think it was you that was mentioning when Mark had brought up the Rancor, like Boba leaves and it's like, where is he going? I think Mark said he knew he was going to get the Rancor. You said you were kind of surprised. I was surprised because I thought somehow, because it was still kind of earlier on in the episode, that he was going to go get some more of his bounty hunter friends.
Or Slave One. You know, just come down and shoot everything.
I'm sorry, David. We don't use that term anymore.
Oh, sorry.
Fire
spray ship.
My fire spray.
My fire spray class warship.
So, what was good about the show? What was good about the show this episode?
What was good about it?
What was good about it?
It ended.
We're not talking about that.
It ended.
Hang on, I have to think. There was a part I did like. I did like the duel between Boba and Cad Bane, kinda.
Yeah.
But it was still like, all right, here's the thing. Cad Bane really leaned in on how Boba Fett used to be a bad guy.
I love that. That was for us. That was for all of us.
And now he's like a good guy, but it's like, I get the motivation, but it's not dynamic because the film is the show is structurally a mess.
Yeah, they're not written well.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about Cad Bane. I was going to bring it up earlier. And it goes back to Robert Rodriguez and possibly the screenwriting, but it's almost like the rule of three. I'd have to go back and count it. But from the time he was introduced in the last episode to this episode, he shows up like 3 or 4 times, but he always shows up in that same, like, he's at the end of one long street and the person who's opposing is standing at the other end of a street or against a building. The same thing when he shows up to, kill the heads of the syndicate, he's still sort of standing at the front of the room and they're kind of like gathered, a few feet away. It's just the composition is so boring. It's like, you guys are saying he's a great character from Clone Wars, but to David's point, I have no context for that. And even if he was a great character from Clone Wars, I'd probably be sitting there thinking, why are they just saddling him this cartoon bad guy Western thing? You can do it once when it's a great homage to, like, High Noon, especially with, Timothy Oliphant being the other side of that really dynamic showdown.
Right.
But when he's just showing up to, talk to a completely disengaged Boba Fett or whatever, it's like, this isn't cool anymore. Let's move on.
I did think that, bringing back Cad Bane for this chapter, the best part of Cad Bane was when he was having that indoor conversation with the criminal heads. That was pretty cool because you could tell that, oh yeah, even though I'm working for you, I'm still suspicious of you. And when he found out that they were responsible for the slaughter of the Tusken Raiders, he was like, oh, and Boba doesn't know this? Okay, I'm going to use this. And he did use it. I like that. I wish we had more of that, of Cad Bane kind of manipulating and almost playing both sides. But, it was more of just like showdown Cad Bane,
Yeah,
and that's
smart writing like that from the beginning.
Yeah. And Sujewa, to your point, that was actually something that I liked. The Cad Bane performance, I don't think I've seen a better example of mouth acting than I have here, because you can see he's got these giant red eyes that don't really have pupils, so you can't really see him looking around, but you can see him thinking things over with his teeth, the way he kind of curls his teeth over his fangs when he's like, wait a second, you guys ordered that hit, and you can see him tucking that information like back into his gums to be used later.
It's like the old Steve Cannon Clutch Cargo cartoons, right?
You're gonna have to explain that for everybody else on the panel who's under
that scene internally. It was the one moment where we saw the Cad Bane that we love out of the Clone Wars. That discussion with the Syndicate folks. That was all of Cad Bane and Clone Wars. The way he was manipulative, he was smart, sneaky. He has a little bit of code to him, so you find out. You even see it there where he feels like, I work for you, but you guys are slimy, even for me,
And kind of going back on last week's episode where we're introduced to Cad Bane too, where you see him strut through the desert, and like I just that last 5-10 minutes or whatever, I just really felt myself wake up and become engaged and really want to see more of this. And it was just a really exciting moment. It was really just like a very special feeling to watch Star Wars kind of revert itself back into that space western that it was meant to be through that scene alone, and through that term that Ian just used, the mouth acting, where he's sneering and he's snarling at Cobb Vanth. I'm like, this is the coolest thing I have seen all week, because of the way that it is done. It is so uncomfortable and it is so fearsome in a way. It's a shame to see that go to waste so soon.
Star Wars has a history of killing off the cool villains early, Darth Maul, Boba Fett, then they brought him back, and then they bring him back. That was kind of the point I was making in the comment section earlier. Is like people will be like, "Oh, this character's cool, bring him back," and they might. It's like the Marvel syndrome.
Gio, what you're saying?
Boring Cad Bane show.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
Well, let me ask this, because the thing with Cobb Vanth, the Marshal really annoyed me. I mean, this is something that I could not understand. To Mark's point, this is something that should have been played out over 14 or 20 episodes, because we get so yo-yoed. We get, as I mentioned last week, the Marshal is gunned down in the street. You don't see him die, so you're like, okay, maybe he's going to come back. In the beginning, throughout this episode, the people of Freetown haven't shown up. And, Boba and his friends are counting on them. And then when they do show up, they're like, yeah, they gunned him down in the street. As in past tense, like, oh my God, the Marshal's dead. That's really dramatic, but I'm also kind of mad because I missed him. I already missed Timothy Oliphant. And then he shows up in the back to tank at the end. I'm like, okay, what is the statute of limitations on how long you can have someone be dead? Because I imagine I imagine the people of Freetown aren't going to be sitting there like, oh, I guess he's dead if he's clearly got signs of life in him, because they'd still have to transport him back to Mos Espa, figure out that Boba Fett has this back to tank, let him use the back to tank, put him in that snazzy black outfit it looked like he was using. That'd be kind of cool if that's his wardrobe for the inevitable Marshal season.
Oh my.
But yeah, I don't. If they're gonna bring back Cad Bane, like, how long do they have to get that body on ice so they can put the enhancements on?
I read. You know what? I tell you what. My brain went there, and I don't know why. But when they started going into the back to tank, I thought it was going to be Cad Bane in the back to tank.
I thought so too.
Oh, good.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
I was like, and I want to see him again, but I also don't, because like it's
because they could have been allies. If they have a history.
They could have been. Look, I mean, instead of just stabbing him through the heart, you could have done something like what you did with Cobb Vanth, where it's a game of will they, won't they. And my question with that mid-credit scene is, why do we have Thundercat there? And what the hell is Timothy Oliphant gonna do next?
And who brought him there?
Who brought him there? What is it like? Are we gonna get an inevitable Cobb Vanth series?
The next season of the Book of Boba Fett will be all outtakes.
It'll be all.
I would rather watch. That would be more coherent than what we have.
But see,
I would love to see the outtakes of him just going, do I have to say all these lines? Or what is the point of this?
But see, him in the back to tank would have made sense if you would have had that dialogue from Fennec and Boba saying, you know what, this isn't for us. I thought I could do this. I can't. Let's move on. You open it up for, if you want to do a Marshal, see the small town Marshal try to handle Mos Espa. Now that Boba Fett's gone, there's a vacuum, and he handles it. I'd watch that, only not just because I'm a Timothy Oliphant fan. I love him in almost anything he does. And I'd love to see more of his character and see him handle, oh, hey, guess what? You're the sheriff in the Mos Espa now. You know, and use
here's what I want to
Boba's
see,
stuff.
Mark.
And, yeah.
Mark, to that point, the techno doctor or whatever who's working on it, I want to see an extended scene where there was another back to tank and he was in danger of losing both patients, so he had to meld them. So coming next season to Disney Plus is Cad Vanth, a blue-faced Timothy Oliphant with giant red eyes and oxygen tubes.
See, I thought the Wookiee would be in the back to tank because Boba mentioned that before, right? He's like, "Oh, we'll get him in the back to tank." You know,
what does back to? How does this? I guess back to tank just like magic healing. Like it heals you if you get attacked by a Wampa, or if you get burned by a Sarlacc.
That's what it is.
Bactine.
There you go.
There was a whole
like
series of there was a whole series of Star Wars novels called like the Back to War, and so I don't know.
That would be cool to know about
Homer.
this, like, the
You
first
think?
episode of the series.
Also,
That would be
also, it's weird that the Hutts gave up on the planet. They have a long history of violent underworld rule last century. So
and that's a lot of money.
It would have been funny if they showed up and started attacking everyone.
That would have been cool. That would have been cool to see Sujewa perhaps in a TV show about gangsters on Tatooine.
Oh,
right.
What if just like a
Hey,
giant fat hut that's like bigger than the Rancor just came in and killed the Rancor? That's the entire cast, and the show just ends.
So funny.
I would rather
Teddy
see that.
has a comment at the end of the chapter when Boba Fett walks down the street. It seems like the satire of Godfather 2.
Well,
of the Simpsons. I'm
glad you mentioned that because if you watch the Screen Crush video, basically this whole chapter, this chapter is pretty much Godfather. If you think about it, because even like the negotiations, that's the same thing that Michael Corleone said.
Yep.
Negotiations, here's my negotiations. Nothing. Verbatim. That's what we have here. And then once all the different gangs take out each underling for Boba Fett, like the Gamorrean guards.
Oh, yeah, like the baptism scene. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like that. So, and then you have like that, the classic fruit being offered on the street is totally Godfather 2.
Yeah, well, but this episode is Godfather 3. That's the problem. No,
Godfather movies didn't have a giant Rancor.
Yeah, that was totally King Kong.
But they did have
Sophia Coppola.
Don Corleone.
Okay, but how does he wants to defend Mos Espa, yet he lets the Rancor tear apart the entire
This is my city.
I love this city. And here's the Rancor just destroying everything, doing the Empire State. I just hate how dumb Boba is. That his character flaw? Is that what they're trying to say? Is that he gets overly emotional, like when they mention the Tuskens, and that's how he wound up in the Sarlacc? They needed some serious structural issue. I mean, I think you're doing too much at the same time.
I just didn't believe him when he said, "This is my city." It's like, why? How? Show me.
For what reason? Yeah.
Someone needed to write that character really well, and they didn't do it. I think maybe this was put together without, a lot of planning, without a good writer. They just tried to wing it using the kind of like an improvised thing. But you can't really do that well with shows like this.
Filler.
Well, that's the thing is, Sujewa, I think that you could do something well with a show like this, even in the confines of 7 episodes. But to get back to something Mike had said earlier, you said the line that I've heard, all my life with Star Wars since I was a kid, that Star Wars is for kids, and it's not. Star Wars is for the family. Star Wars that means that adults can enjoy it and kids can enjoy it, but it's not supposed to be, stupid. And I think the problem is
it doesn't need to talk down to the audience.
Right. And the people behind Book of Boba Fett, I can't even say this because they are also responsible for The Mandalorian, which I think is a much smarter, adult oriented show or something that adults could watch without being insulted.
Now I'm worried about season 3. Like now I'm like, well, is this it? Just him? I didn't want Grogu to be with him that fast.
Here's what
it was too fast. It felt premature, and it felt like it needed. A friend of mine texted me earlier, and he's like, he said basically the same thing. that if Grogu needs to be present to make the show worth watching, then the show
Yeah.
it shouldn't be happening. Like, if you need to use other devices from other series to make something interesting, then you shouldn't be doing it. And I felt like in that scene, I love Grogu. I think he's adorable. I have a little one that sits on my bookshelf at home. You know, like it's so cute. He's so cute. But at the same time, like, I don't need to see him. You know what I mean? Like, I know that he's there and I know he's present, and that's fine and good. But this isn't his spotlight.
It was adorable to see him sleeping with the Rancor, though.
It was pretty cute. That was very.
Is that a
cute.
cutscene? Did I miss that?
However,
I mean, it felt like a cutscene
when
from a video game.
When he jumps up and latches onto Mando, I'm like, who is this for?
Yeah.
What show am I watching?
It's for everyone. They're gonna clap when he gets reunited with him. Yay, because it's Star Wars, and this is just telling the audience, hey, you know what? They're gonna like it. Whatever.
No.
Some guy just smoking it's probably Jon Favreau sitting like in his mansion with a big cigar. Yeah, just put this scene in.
Yeah, Boba Fett didn't really have a big overall mission of real purpose for living. You know, in the series.
I was
Luke had it, Darth Vader had it, even Mando had it per episode.
Sure.
Is every story just going to be the same thing? Like,
well, but here's the thing. I listened to someone else today on another YouTube channel. They were talking about, you know, what this show could have been. They had a neat idea of, you know, if they had set up Fennec Shand and Boba Fett as sort of rivals, maybe working together to collect bounties, but trying to like outdo each other or something like that. But interesting. But what would have been cool is, you know, The Mandalorian is about a guy. He's a bounty hunter. He's making his way through the galaxy. He gets an attachment with this little creature, and he has to figure out what that means. You know, is he a bounty hunter? And is he, you know, part of his own culture since he's sort of been, you know, exiled from that? What if Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett, had been about the galaxy's most feared bounty hunter, and all the other bounty hunters in the galaxy turn against him? So he has to use his skills to survive. You know, go again. It could be the mirrorverse version of the Mandalorian, where you really have a villain who's being pursued by other villains. Maybe he softens. Maybe we learn a bit more about him, but he's still in character. I don't know. Again, I'm not convinced that this is Boba Fett. I'm waiting to see the third Back to Tank, where the real Boba Fett wakes up, and we get a redo of this entire series, which I probably wouldn't watch anyway.
This was a Boba clone. Now they're going to do the real Boba Fett show.
They might.
Clone Wars. Oh wait.
And you know what? When I say filler, I truly felt like that. That like this was a last minute thing. Like they did the Boba end credit sequence at end of Mando 2 for a stinger. Like, hey, because we had Boba in him. All right, boom. He's on Jabba's throne. Let your imagination go. What happens next? He's with badass Fennec Shand. You still imagine Jabba's army still around, or Bib Fortuna at least had part of that. So
or Max Rebo,
or even Max Rebo. Which
is he okay?
He's fine. He's got I told you, he's got a force field on his organ, and
Max
Rebo is the most powerful Sith user in the universe.
There you go, Darth Rebo.
Hit him with Darth Binks.
But it got such a pop on the internet, and they're like, "Hey, we got to schedule a time. Hey, John, can you come up with something for Boba Fett?" And he's like, "Sure." And then this whole series from start to finish just felt like it was a last minute thing. Like this was, they were trying to hop on the hype train because everybody went nuts. So when he shot Bib Fortuna and sat on Jabba's throne, hey, we could do something with this. I could see some Disney exec going, did you see all the buzz on the internet? We dominated Twitter for like a day. We dominated Instagram for 3 days. YouTube talked about it for a week. We got to do a show. And they're like, and John's like, yeah, I got some time.
Well, but here's the thing though, and this goes back to, I think we've talked about this. I mean, the production. I know, Sujewa, you've got some issues with the way some of these episodes have looked, and I agree. Especially you posted on Twitter a couple of examples of like contrasting some shots from the Book of Boba Fett from shots of Mandalorian and how they look, more natural and more like something you'd see in a movie rather than composited, right? Oh, is it Force Awakens? Okay. But the production value, the actors, the artisans who made the show happen, I don't think they were thinking of this as filler at all. It doesn't look cheap. It looks like a real show. But the problem is, if Favreau didn't care, or whoever was at the top should have looked at these scripts and said, I can go out on the internet tomorrow and find 5 writers that I could put in a room, pay them a quarter of what I'm paying you, and come up with 7 episodes that would have blown away all of Star Wars fandom, because this ain't it.
I mean, the writers who are doing the Star Wars comics for years now, I mean, those are some good stories. I mean, I just don't get it.
I do have a theory. I hate to say it, maybe it's a little controversial, but Jon Favreau is a little bit like J.J. Abrams, where he's great at introducing a world, introducing characters, but then when you got to go deeper, there's not a lot there. And that's where Filoni comes in. And
that's true.
You know,
is that why I don't care for the 3rd act of Swingers?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if he wanted to take mob notes, he should have taken it when he was on Sopranos, you know.
Also, it's possible these guys are overworked and they need a B team, they need a C team.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, then hire more people. There are more people out there that want to write and they want to be a part of this. And like Mark said, go on Twitter for a day, go on YouTube for a day, go on Facebook, go on Instagram for a week, and put out some type of writer's call or casting call or something. And you will get hundreds of thousands of responses around the world. Weed through those, pick 10. Have some poor intern that gets you coffee and runs on that coffee that they drink to go through it, because they will do it if they get to work for that specific brand.
Maybe just
I know a good friend of mine was really set on writing the Hawkeye show, and she has her own scripts that she's penned that she was, really for years wanted to submit, based on Matt Fraction's comics, and they were fantastic. But, it was because Disney has their set teams of writers and their set staff, and they're so comfortable with what they know. They like to stick within their comfort zone because the entertainment industry is stingy to work in. And it's very elitist and it's very gate-kept. And I think that if we were given the potential to let these up-and-comers who have the skills, who know the worlds, who know the lore, that love the characters and love the fandom, they could just, it's like Kevin Trevorrow writing Duel of Fates.
Well, yeah, I mean,
it's a very similar concept where you could read the script online and be like, that was the best thing that will never be released. You could have someone do that with the Book of Boba Fett and go, that was the best show I've ever seen.
Well, a problem is Disney's the gatekeepers, and Boba Fett is not the kind of character that Disney can make a good show about, because he's too, he's everything that's the antithesis of their image.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I disagree slightly, because I mean, and I know I've complained about this for years, but Disney has been, doing a nice, tidy business in villainy. From Cruella de Vil, there's a lot of cruelty in their villains, their villain-centric shows, their villain-centric movies. They always, find a way to soften them, but there's some nastiness in there before they get to the, here's why they need a hug. I think you could have pulled that off with the Book of Boba Fett, and without even sacrificing it to make it, you don't have to push into R-rated territory to come up with something that's kind of scary. I mean, I think as cheesy and dated as it is, and as problematic as the creator is, you can look back at Buffy the Vampire Slayer for a TV show that was teen-centric, but it was also kind of a family show. It was like the most popular show for years on the CW, and you got into some like dark, racy, like really violent material. There was an episode where Allison Hannigan, turns into a dark witch and skins a guy, like on camera. His skin completely fillets him. I'm like, wow. And by the way, I said fillet. Anyway.
And we can't forget I think 2 weeks ago in The Mandalorian, like the Mando stabs a guy, cuts another dude in half, then decapitates him and walks around with his head in a bag.
That's true.
Why can't we? Now, we don't need an image like that of Boba Fett's past, but we can have something where he does something cruel, like maybe there's like a village and he just burns it down so he can get like a little reward, and we'd be like, whoa. And we just
or Boba Fett maybe had another side, that he's a very smart dude, a criminal mastermind. They could have written that out, because when the show started, we had no idea about his past, except the little that we saw in the previous movies. He could have been a very interesting character, even without the violence, and who's like a criminal mastermind, and he completely reorganizes Tatooine or the entire planet, pretty much. Maybe
He could have had
fine.
existential
That would be perfectly
crises about being a clone, and prove why he's not a clone.
Or even do it as an anthology. You know,
I
you
was
call
just gonna say,
That would be
Mark and I are on the same wavelength. Yes.
you call it the Book of Boba Fett.
Yes.
Each chapter is a story involving
yes.
Boba Fett.
Yes.
You get it. You do it similar to What If. It's kind of a variation of a Star Wars What If, but with the same character. You get Boba Fett in different situations, either something that's tied that takes place during the original trilogy or later, or and then you have one episode that ties it to the cut scene at the end of Mando, but the rest of the 7 other episodes are just stories involving Boba Fett. Either
ABCs of Boba Fett.
Yeah, him either on
There
the
you go.
run, either on the run from other bounty hunters, or trapped in his ship, which is marooned, and he starts rethinking his entire life.
Well, that would have been the episode of Firefly where Mal gets
was-
stuck on the ship.
That was a great episode.
It was so good.
Or in episode 1 of this show, he destroys all the competition, becomes the head. Now he's bored. Now he's talking about his past, all the different chapters.
Yeah. And luckily with the season 2, they can explore that character and do those things.
No season 2.
Well, not now. Wait.
Well,
wait.
No,
Yeah.
Never.
In all
say
honesty,
that now.
The other comparison I made with this, and I've talked with Ian about this, is that this is the arrow of the Star Wars TV verse. In that they're using it to set up other shows.
Yeah.
That's the whole purpose that I felt by the end of this, that's the only purpose really of this, is to set up the world enough to where when we get Obi-Wan, we get Andor, we get Ahsoka, we get these other stories, I guarantee you're probably going to see at least a few of these characters probably crop up later on in those shows.
Well, here's the problem though. I mean, Boba Fett Volume 2 is kind of screwed either way. Because
it is.
we've got Mando season 3, Ahsoka season 1, Andor season 1, Obi-Wan. By the time these are all going to be probably 7-8 episodes long. 2 months, where it's going to be a rotating calendar throughout the year, maybe with a month in between. By the time we get to the second volume of Book of Boba Fett, either these other shows are going to be so amazing that at least if Favreau and Filoni and whoever don't bring their A game with Volume 2, no one's going to watch it. Or these other shows are going to be so middling to mediocre that everyone's going to be so sick of Star Wars that everything else is going to fail. I cannot for the life of me picture how, and I'm fine to eat my words, how the hell does a TV show about Cassian Andor, the least memorable, least charismatic character possibly in all of Star Wars, get not 1, but 2 seasons, sight unseen, of a television series?
Have you seen Diego Luna?
What about him?
He's a gorgeous man.
Have you seen Diego Luna?
I have, but I've seen him act. I saw him in Rogue One. I'm like,
I rest my case.
I've also seen Ewan McGregor. How do you not?
Train spotting. Yeah, but anyways, at least what if people don't like season 1 of Andor?
You get another one.
Yeah.
Too bad.
Well,
are they? What if season 2 is already pre-written? They're like, fans hate it. What do we do? Are they gonna just
they reserve the right to pull it? It's just like Green Lantern. Ryan Reynolds. That movie had a sequel greenlit opening weekend, and they're like, Green what?
Yeah.
All right, so
they're gonna bring Mando in. They're gonna bring Mando in.
Mando.
Whatever your show is, they'll bring in Mando.
Mando is showing up.
I want Lando to meet Mando.
Right.
You can't spell
Andor and then Mando for the other 4.
Yeah, you can't spell Andor without Mando or Mandor.
Mandalorians coming up.
Mandingo? What?
What? No, that's a totally different series. All right, okay, we're gonna close it out here with a comment from Petty. Okay. Oh wait, we've got 2 actually. Okay. When the mechanics appeared, did it generate funny or anticlimactic situations? Mechanics? Are you talking about the Amy Sedaris' character or the mechanics like the spiders thing?
I think maybe the Amy Sedaris. Yeah.
No, I didn't. I liked her in the limited doses we got of the previous 2 episodes, but here she just so mugging, like, oh my god, he's so cute.
What's that going?
And there's like potential romance between her and Tailhead.
Oh no! I so wanted him to get blown away, like when he actually gave the negotiation contract.
That would have been great.
He's just like, please, I'm just the messenger, and then just like a million lasers. Just
Shoot
like,
don't shoot the messenger, dude.
Yeah.
Shoot the messenger.
Why did the Gamorrean guards get 300'd, yet all of the biker kids survived?
I
They not just get 300'd, they got shitty, they got shitty dummied. They got
That's
shitty
true.
dummied.
That was the one plus side. Okay, final comment of the night. Do you think we can expect a show similar to The Mandalorian or the Book of Boba Fett with the Obi-Wan Kenobi show?
No.
As far as quality is
I would
concerned,
kill myself.
God,
Like that.
Probably more like the Mandalorian.
Here's what we have. There's a couple things we have to look forward to, and a couple things that we should be really reticent about.
Ewan McGregor.
I'll start with the reticent.
Christensen.
I'll start with the reticent. It's
Okay.
probably going to be mostly on Tatooine.
yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
That's as
the
far as I'll
poster.
go. The good thing is you got Ewan McGregor, great actor. The other thing is Obi-Wan, great character. And the other thing is Deborah Chow is directing all of it. She is the showrunner, and she's directing all of it. Now, I'm not sure if she's also writing it. Hopefully, Filoni's writing it all. I don't know. But I have some faith in this show. Out of all the other Star Wars shows coming up, I think I'm most looking forward to that, and then Ahsoka.
Tatooine is apparently the New York of this universe.
It's terrible.
I found the writer for Obi.
credits for filming over there.
What's
So-
that, Annie?
Joby Harold
Oh.
will be writing the Obi-Wan Kenobi series.
Joby's writing Obi.
Joby and Obi.
Joby's right.
Yo.
Joby
Is that like Mark
writing
Webb directing the
Obi.
Spider-Man movies? All right. Well, here's the question, because David, you bring up an interesting point. I think there's the teaser poster that was revealed about Obi-Wan, and you see him in the desert. This show does not have to take place on Tatooine. It has to end up on Tatooine.
Or
we
start.
we see Obi-Wan dropping off the twins with Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru.
Yeah.
19 years passed between that time and when somehow Ewan McGregor becomes Alec Guinness. He could just be off world and then get called back decades later to Tatooine for some reason. Maybe he decides to retire there.
I mean, legend has it that he kind of stays on Tatooine for a little bit. I mean, I agree that he can move around, but
is that the old dead canon, or is this something that's born more recently?
The whole, whatever canon you want to use, whatever canon you want to shoot out of. The idea was that he was still kind of watching over Luke and making sure he was okay. So I could see how he can be frequenting Tatooine, and I think it would be great to have the show end with like, oh, so this is how he became this, old Ben Kenobi, this hermit.
Wasn't he exiled?
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, I think he was. He was like Yoda. They were both in hiding.
Yeah,
they
he
were
was
Jedi
exiled.
in hiding.
Yeah.
And that's why I was glad Luke didn't show up here in this chapter, because Luke is technically in hiding. He's building his Jedi, academy. He shouldn't be trapezing all over the universe in his X-wing. That being said, it would have been cool if the X-wing kind of landed kind of jittery, because Grogu was the pilot. Like, that would have been funny. But
I just had a fear Andor will probably pop up in Obi-Wan because that's around the same timeline.
Is it the same timeline?
Yeah,
I guess
because
so.
that was like pre-Death Star explosion, and but he would be a lot younger, wouldn't he? Because it's 10 years after.
See, that's the other thing that's going to trip people up, especially fair weather fans, I guess, if they're out there. like we're dealing with this time period right now, which is after Jedi, post Jedi. Now this is going to be post Revenge of the Sith, and prior between Sith and Rogue One, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, I think it might be confusing unless they say exactly what it is, in a text scroll or something.
They could do like the Marvel where they just stamp the date and time on the screen,
They
I don't like the trope, but it's easy to follow.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, David. I want to see the crawl come back.
That would be great.
I want to see these shows open with the John Williams score and make it Star Wars. Star Wars-esque. I'm asking for way too much. I understand.
I didn't even mind the way Rogue One opened up, which was
Obi-Wan comes out on the 50th or the 45th anniversary of the series as a whole.
Yeah.
Well,
so they
May 25th is
the day. Yeah.
The day, like May 25th, 1977.
Mark's like, I'm old.
I saw it in theater when I was 2.5 years old. Okay, so that just made.
I was 5.
Wow. I don't know if you could you remember?
Barely anything, but my parents said that I was riveted. I had just been potty trained, and they were concerned. They were concerned because they said I was so engrossed in the movie, they had to literally take me out of the seat and take me, literally to go to the bathroom because they were worried that I would ruin what I had. But 2.5 years old. It was the first film I ever saw in a theater, so that explains a lot. But
all this Star Wars, and we only have one Spaceballs movie.
Yeah, I know, right?
Bring that back.
They'll fix that.
Bring that back.
Hey, speaking of potty, I'm gonna post this on Instagram later. I was cleaning out my basement and I found my official my official Jedi. You'll understand it. You remember Underoos?
Oh yeah.
I had Star Wars Underoos from Return of the Jedi came out. I have my official I am a Jedi Knight from the back of a pack of Underoos that I found.
Because they had a Boba Fett Underoos.
I did not have that. Well, was the rocket in the front in that case? Anyway,
was it shoot out like Boba Fett's? Never mind.
Yeah, where did Boba get all the missiles?
I was just gonna say, did you notice somebody caught this on Twitter that he released that missile and then a couple scenes later it's back in his backpack.
That's right. Also,
it regenerates through nanotechnology, like in Moonfall.
Yeah, let's bring Battlestar Galactica back. That was a good show.
Which one? The 70s or the the recent one?
Really good.
Yeah, that was. Yeah.
All right.
I can't watch it, but everyone else.
It's true.
Okay, this is going to be the last comment because it just came in from Petty. The good thing about the same timeline is if the Obi-Wan Kenobi shows goes down, they can always bring in Mando to save the show.
Yeah, that's true.
Love it.
Yeah.
Mando is the band-aid he's the Mand-Aid for all things Star Wars. Right. All right. And anyway, we're going to close
travel into the show and then you can put them anywhere.
Yeah,
that's true.
There is a time travel episode. There is a time travel episode in Rebels, so they can time travel.
Is there really? I haven't watched Rebels yet. Oh,
I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that because we need to protect our Star Wars. Anyway, thanks everybody. This has been the Book of Boba Fett, the Boba Fett Book Club. I'm all falling all over my words here. We are going to be back against my better judgment talking about more Star Wars. We'll be back in May to talk about the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, probably with a pithy, clever title. We'll be back. A configuration of this panel will probably be dropping in really soon when Disney Plus drops their new show, Moon Knight. I think at the end of next month, if I'm not mistaken. So everyone gets their Wednesdays off for a while. And we may or may not be talking about a little Cape Crusader action in the interim. So all good stuff. Thank you everybody for joining us here. If you're joining us in the chat, or if you're watching the recording later, or if you're even here on the panel with me right now, I am Ian Simmons of Kicking the Seat, David Fowley of Keeping It Real, Mark the Movie Man Krawczyk from the Spoiler Room and Special Mark Productions, Annie Banks from Chuckload of Comics and Movie Web, Mike Crowley of YPA Reviews, and 25 years later. Oh, you got your little starship.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Look at that.
Yeah, it's my fire spray gunship.
Oh, don't let me dig out my toys. I've got the actual one. It's just missing the ramp. But I've got
nice.
Oh yeah, there's a little ramp in here. Kind of.
So you're saying that your version of the ship wouldn't stand up to code. All right, and then we also have Sujewa Ekanayake, again, director extraordinaire. Check out the Secret Society for Slow Romance. I'll have links to all your stuff and everybody's stuff in the description below. Please follow everybody, support their work, like, subscribe to this channel, and join us back whenever that is, whatever that is. It's been a pleasure talking about the show, not so much watching it.
One final comment.
One final comment. Yes, a big greeting to all of you. Excellent as always. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Yes, greetings from America to Argentina. We will hopefully see you on our next live streams. Thank you. And I'm going to let everybody go. May the Force be with you in ways that it most certainly was not with the Book of Boba Fett.
Don't go to
and we're closing the book.
Don't go to Tatooine.
Tatooine has officially become a 4-letter word.
That's
officially.
Tattoo.